welcome back Shadow and Flame followers to what is going to be a tutorial video today, and we are going to be looking at how to get a bit more variety from the three poses that come in the Gundabad Beserkers from Forgeworld. So as you know, there are three, but lots of options in the box for a start, and we'll be going over some very basic and simple ways you can use green stuff to make them look a little bit different. So let's go have a look. Okay, so here are the Gundabads. That's the box they come in, the blister. We'll get around to those ones later. Okay, but this is the stuff you get in the box, and you'll notice straight away that two of them have separate heads, but one has a head that's firmly attached and molded to the figure. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to get that head off. That way everything is in threes. Okay, so we have three different heads, three different bodies, three different weapons. Okay, and straight away, just doing the math, that even if we don't do anything other than cut the head off, it's going to be 27 different variants we can get just by using each head with each body with each weapon. Alright, so that's what we'll do first. So we'll move that aside for a minute. Okay, and you're going to want a sharp knife, X-Acto blade. Alright, this one I've used it a little bit, but it's still fairly sharp. Alright, and what we're going to want to do is going to want to cut along that bottom of that beard behind the ear. So we're going to want to cut that way. Alright, and it's going to roll over, and if we look at this side, you can just about make out the ear on the other side. So we want to cut just behind that, so that when we come in this way, we're going to keep both ears basically. Alright, so it's just a case of pressing down, hopefully. We'll see just how sharp this blade is. So it's not quick. Now it doesn't have to be too pretty, because we're going to have to do a little bit of green stuff work. To get it blended in. But the neater you can do it, obviously, the better it will be in the long run, and the less work you'll have to make for yourself. So it's getting there slowly. It's just a case of rocking it backwards and forwards. So we'll fast forward until I cut through this, and then we'll take a look. Okay, and once we've gone through as far as we need to go, then we can cut in the other way, making sure we don't get that ear chopped off. There it goes. Okay, so here we go, nice and neat. Heads off, nice and neat, not damaged. That ear's still on there, that ear's still on there. We're good to go. So now, if we want to add it to this body, for instance, okay, we get a whole nother option. All right. And this body. Okay, so you get the idea. And just by doing that one simple thing, we open up a whole lot more options. So let's have a look at the arms. Right, so if we look at this body here, obviously there's just one separate leg that fits on there, so there's no confusing that bit. There are, however, several arms. Okay. Now we've got this guy, he's got no arms, so he needs two. This guy, he needs one. Right. Now, if you look on the shoulder, there's like a rectangular shoulder guard there. And you look at the arms, you can tell that this one also has that. Okay, so we know that's the arm that's supposed to go with this model. Right, and it sort of goes like that. Okay. But what we can also do, if we want to mix the post up slightly, is this arm, with a little bit of work, we can fit this arm on. Okay. And it looks like he's coming to swing a huge punch down on someone suspecting, well, whoever you want really. Dwarf, most likely. Okay, there will be a little gap behind, but we can fill that with green stuff, which we'll show later. But it's just another way to get a little bit of variation. Alright. And the only other arm, you know, that's for this guy. No confusing that one. It's got to go there. And no hand, because all the weapons come with hands moulded on. So those are a couple of arm variants we can do. I think what I'll do is I'll assemble the three figures with their heads, and then we'll take it from there. Alright, just one other thing before we put stuff together. When you come to snip this guy off the sprue, which I already done on the one I showed you, just make sure that you don't snip off. There's a little bit next to his groin. Just here, there's like a little triangle. That's part of his cloth. Yeah, you can see it on the other side here. Right, so just make sure when you're taking off these excess pieces of sprue, just make sure that you don't snip that off accidentally. If you do, it's not the end of the world. You can put it back in with a bit of green stuff, but try and avoid it if possible. It'll just save yourself a little bit of work later on. Okay, so let's get rid of it as close as we can. Let's get rid of that. Okay, and then we can just get in close to that piece, but not so close. Okay, so there you go. That piece doesn't get snipped off. We'll clean it up a little bit, get that bit of flash off behind. But there you go. Okay. If you weren't sure what that bit is, that's just a little bit of the rear of the skirt of the standing guy. This guy. Got an obvious hole for that. Bit of glue. Just like that. Right, so I got a little bit carried away and started adding weapons as well. But before I finish all that, let's just have a look at where we are now. Okay, so if you look at the top row, all right, that's the same head on each of the 3 different bodies. Okay, so by cutting that off, we've given ourselves a few more options. Obviously this one, no point cutting that one off because he's already on there. All right, and that would just be a bit silly. So if you've got a large number of these guys, don't cut all of these guys' heads off because you're going to want to keep it on that for a few of them. Alright, middle guys, again, same head on each of the 3 guys, and same on the bottom. Alright, so even without the weapons, you've got 9 guys that are all slightly different because they've got different heads on different bodies. All right. Plus we've got another 3 options with the weapons to come up with more poses, because we've got another 3 here. Inevitably we're running out of heads and bodies, so we're going to have to duplicate. But with the extra weapons, as I mentioned, they're going to look a little bit different. Plus there's a few things else we can do to change them up a bit more. We'll go into that shortly. Alright, so that's all the heads glued onto bodies. Only 2 really we've got that similar are this standing guy here. Alright, so we've got that guy. He's a bit limited to what you can do with him, but obviously we can give him a different weapon to this axe. Maybe we can give him the 2-handed one of these, so it'll be a little bit different, and also we could try bending the legs so they end up straighter than what they are. Alright, this guy is the same as this guy, however with the arm swaps, this one's more punchy dude, this one's runny dude, I guess, so they're still a little bit different. And same thing with oh, sorry, got the wrong guys there, mixing up. That guy was that guy. Right, but different arms. And the last one, this is the punchy dude. That's what I was thinking of. Alright. So same guy, same armour, but arms slightly different, and we can give him a different weapon. Alright, so let's go have some weapon selection. Now when it comes to choosing your weapons options, just bear in mind that although they're the same weapons, alright, there are 3 on the sprue of these axes, for example, and the hands are moulded slightly different angle wise. So even though that's the same model, I put the 2 different axes on there, so one's pointing down and one's being held up. Alright. You can also rotate it slightly as well, so if we had this hand rotated, it'll be across the body more, so that's an option as well. Alright, so that's just something small you can do, relatively simple. Once all the weapons are on, okay, then I suggest, once the glue's dry, is just go around with a file and clean up any of the joins where the hands meet. If you see that, this is probably the hardest one to sort out, the guy with the 2-handed weapons, just because you're trying to make 2 points of contact rather than the 1. You can heat it up and bend it a little bit, try and get a better join, but if you end up with a step like that, it's best to file it off, because it's a lot easier to disguise a join than it is to disguise a step. Alright, so we're just going to take away the top of that hand there. Yeah, so it's not as drastic as it was. And then when we come to fill it, it'll be a lot easier to get a smooth transition. Okay, a little bit more. Right. Now you can go too heavy, and you don't want to take off all that detail on the back of the hand there, but if you do, don't worry. There is a way around that with the green stuff, which we'll discuss later. You can add gloves, for example. Right, so just go around the whole thing. Alright, so it's still there, but not as obvious as it was. And when we put the green stuff on, you'll never know. Okay, that'll do. Other things to think about. Because all the berserkers come with closed fists, it's very easy to add extra weapons in, like this guy. Now some of you may be thinking, why have you given him 2 different weapons? And you would be right, of course. If you play the game, they can only take one type of weapon. So you could arm him with 2 swords or 2 axes, but you can't have one of each. But if you're doing models for somebody who doesn't play the game and just wants them painted up nicely in their display cabinet, then you're free to do what you want, really. And that is the case here. So that's why he's got 2 different weapons. All right. All this is, it's just a case. Now here is, let's have a look. All right. So this sword was originally sort of like that, with a hand in between. Okay. All we've done. All right. So I've snipped off the blade at the top, next to the fist. I've snipped off the bit underneath. Okay. And then it just goes either side of the fist. So it's pretty easy. Okay. You can do it the other way around. So this guy, for example, I'm going to give him an axe in the other hand. All right. And of course, all the weapons are held in the right hand. So it's not just a case of cutting off the hand and sticking that on, because that'll just look silly with 2 right hands. So what you have to do is snip that hand out. Let's do it quickly, shouldn't take too long. Where's my knife? Here it is. Alright, so nice sharp knife. Just snip, bit pressure one side of the fist, then carefully the other side. Alright, so that fist, don't need that, chuck that in the bits box, might come in useful one day. Alright, and you're just left with that, which should, in theory, be the correct size for this fist. Like so. So that fits on there. It's just a case of adding a little drop of super glue, and it'll be good to go. So I'll crack on with that, and then we'll come back and look at getting... No, we won't do green stuff next, we'll do reposing. Alright, so we can alter the poses a little bit by bending some of the joints. Like this leg, for instance, if we bend it back a bit more so it's more bent, it will end up a little bit straighter rather than leaning forwards. So the way we do that, or the way I do it, I used to boil the kettle, electric kettle, boiling water in a cup or a bowl, and then just hold the mini in for a few seconds, just to soften the resin up and bend it. But these days I choose to steam bend. just because it's a lot quicker. All right. But the fact it is steam is a little bit more dangerous. So just bear that in mind. I'll show you what the trouble is, I'm going to need 3 hands. So if I just show you what we're going to do. So if I hold on to this mini like so, and so that's my electric kettle. What I'm going to be doing is just when I come to boil it, I'm going to be holding this leg above the spout, so as the steam comes out it gives it a blast and it will loosen it right up and I'll be able to bend it very easily. Alright, but I can't do that and hold the camera at the same time, so we'll just have to go with it. If I put the camera back a second. So let's flick the kettle on. Shouldn't take too long because I've pre-boiled it. Good content this. Alright, so that steam's coming out now. You heard the kettle click, so that's boiled. And then I should be able to just, with a little bit of pressure, bend that knee back. Like so. There you go. So it's not a great deal of difference. Right. We can also bend that foot down if we wanted to. We could bend this leg forwards. Try that, see what that looks like. What I'm going to have to do is put a relief cut in here though, because where the back of the leg cloth, you don't want to bend that, so just cut that up to the leg. Oops. All right. So that's not going to get moved. I'll come to bend it. So I'll hold this leg this time. Boil the kettle. Give it more, give it a bit more of a blast. Well, okay, that's gone well wobbly now, I can see it. Bend that leg forward slightly. Okay, so just like that. So we've gone from that pose to this pose now. So it's a bit different. You can have him on just about to step off a rock or whatever. And what I'll do is I'll just bend that foot back slightly, get it look a little bit odd. Enough. Right. So at least it's facing down now. So there you go. I mean, you can play about with it. I mean, it's a little bit curved there. I could straighten it out this way a bit on the ankle, but just play about with it until you get how you want. I mean, it's not just legs, You're supposed to do elbows. Depending on how far you want to bend them, you may have to put relief cuts in. And what I mean by that is if I wanted to fold this arm right across the chest, for instance, which I'm not going to do, if I just came to bend it, you'd have a very unnatural U-shaped elbow rather than a V shape. So what I tend to do if I'm doing really acute joints is cut a little triangle in. All right, so a little bit out the forearm, a little bit out the bicep, and that gives you room to close the joint, as it were. All right, but I'm not going to bother with that because I quite like the way he's looking. I'm just going to straighten that leg up a little bit. That'll be it. Okay, better. Doesn't look as bowed as it was. All right, so that's it. Pretty simple. What we're going to do now is start the green stuff, I guess. So we'll be just neatening up all these little joints. Guys, where we've done head swaps, I mean that guy's just stuck on, but that'll need filling. Where we go? This guy, for instance. All right. So this was a beardy guy's head, remember, which we cut off, and that we stuck one of the loose heads on, but we have got a bit of a gap there. All right, just the way I've changed the angle that he's facing slightly. So that'll need filling. All these need filling onto the arms, etc., etc., etc. So let's do that. Gap filling a lot of these guys, and just doing the around the arms and stuff, around the hands. That's really easy to do. The old green stuff, I'll show you quickly, just on one of them. Alright, so you need a tiny piece. Roll it out. Really thin. Yeah, that's probably about, I don't know, about 0.5 millimetre maybe thick. And then there's one guy we haven't done, this guy. You want about 5 millimetres roughly. Just stick that on the line. Okay, and just work it around. Oh. Tool's a bit sticky. Tell you what, let's use the silicone one because it doesn't stick to that. There you go. So that just goes right around the outside of the line. Now it's just a case of smoothing it flat. Just like that. So pretty simple. Now I choose, even though that's quite a small gap, I opt to use regular green stuff just because I can't get on with liquid green stuff. It gets on my nerves. I find it shrinks a lot when it dries, and then you're still left with a concave gap even though you filled it, and then you're just going over it all of it too many times. I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but anyway, this works for me. So there you go, that's that. Gap at the back isn't too bad, so but I'll stick something on there nonetheless. Come on. So there you go. And do the same thing, just squash it in. You get a nice seamless layer of cloth. Because what you don't want is a step or a ridge where your green stuff stops and the model begins. So make sure those edges are feathered right out into the resin. There's a slight gap around there. I suppose we could do that as well. It's always tricky trying to do this on camera, because the camera is in the way of where I want to look. There you go. Now this arm here, because we swapped the arm with the one that's supposed to have, obviously where we've glued it on, there's a bit of a wedge there. All right, and that's no good really for trying to line up stuff. It's always hard trying to disguise a sharp edge than it is one that's curved. So what I'm going to do, I'm just shaving off that harsh corner. Alright. So what I've done there is just taking it down a bit. And that makes it easier for us to blend in a bit of green stuff. So I'm going to need a little bit more. So let's try that. Got about that much. Stick it in. Just work it in there. And then you can use your clay shapers again, just to blend it in, because the flesh is quite organic. Yeah, so you don't want too many harsh, bold lines in there. You want it to flow. A little bit more, I think. Right. So I'm going to use this just to squash it down a bit. Okay. Once we've got most of it in, switch out the old clay shaper, feather it across. Right. So that's a lot smoother now. So you can see I'm not really doing anything too tricky. Got a bit of a gap on the back of his leg here. That's where we slit, we cut in earlier and bent the leg with the kettle steam. So what I'm going to do there is disguise that with some fur. Right. Now what I do when I'm doing the fur on the back of these boots, I tend to get a very small pea. Okay. And I'm going to cut it in half, or thereabouts. Right. So it gives me two. This might not be enough actually. Gonna need a bigger pea. circle, cut in half, stick it in. Right. And just bring it around a little bit. Same the other side. Right. So looking like that. And then what we're going to do is just start dragging that down. So sharp tool, you can use this or a hobby knife. And just pushing lines in. Okay, and then we can come down over the top of that a little bit. Now if you can get these a little bit erratic, you don't want them straight down because that won't look very natural. And just disguising that leg joint a bit. Switch out to a thinner blade. Okay, just try and get some curvature on these lines if you can. If you can't, don't worry. Just helps it make it look a bit more hairier. Okay, this is no different from when we come to do some hair in a minute. Just make sure that top end's tucked right in. Okay. So once that's painted up, should end up with something like so it's going to look like that once it's painted. Okay, so it's not bad. Little conversion from not a lot of effort. Okay, so and then you get the other half of your pea, stick that on the other leg. Drag it round. You've got to be careful now that you don't squash the bit you've just done. Okay, so just first of all get it in roughly the right place you want it. Okay, once you're happy, and start the process again. Watch out. Okay. Okay, so he's almost done. It's quite hard for me to see this. I think he's almost done. Just make sure you've got, you don't want any clumpy bits that aren't drawn in with the lines, if that makes sense. You don't want any plain bits. Okay, I'm happy with that. Right, so that's fur on the boots. You can also do that exactly the same process, like this guy. You notice on his wrists, they didn't line up very well. Okay, now I could have heated them up and bent that arm so it fit a bit snugger, but what I've done, you can see I've already pre-cut a bit of the hand away. Ooh. Okay, because that was quite a large step there. And what that does, it just makes things easier for us to bridge the gap. Because as I said earlier, it's very tricky to try and disguise a step than it is a gap. Right. So what I'm doing now, you're probably thinking, well, that's way too much to disguise that little gap. Right. But what I'm doing, I'm giving them like a wristband. Okay. So make sure that covers the whole thing. Like so. Remember, we do exactly the same thing as we did with the boots. Right. You can start just by pushing in some lines to start with, and then we can move them about once they're in. Ooh. Don't forget, keep your sculpting tool lubricated, otherwise you end up pulling the putty off, as you just saw then. So I'm going to switch to my smaller blade again. I've already got some green stuff on there. Right, let's try again. Okay, so you can just try and, so I'm almost doing a sideways movement, just pushing those straight lines that I pushed in originally, just giving them a bit more variation, I guess. Right, here we go. Okay, so that might not look like much at the moment, anyway. Okay, but make sure you get right to the edges. What we're aiming for here, going back to this guy again. Right. So we're looking for just those fur forearm covers, like wristbands. Right. I'm not going to show you the other one. I think you get the idea. Right. But I will go off camera and finish that one. Come back when it's done. Right, so that's that guy done with his little fairy bracelets. What we need to do is where we've cut this head off of the one that came with the fixed head, we've got a bit of filling in, especially around, don't know if you can see that, around by the side of the face there. It's a bit bare, and what we're going to be doing is similar to what we had to do with this one. Okay, so he's a bit more werewolfy. Alright, and we're just adding hair around the beard and then on the back of the head. So once again, you want to just try and gauge roughly how much you're going to need. Right. So this is like a wedge shape I've just cut off. Alright, it might be a little bit too much, but we'll see how it goes. Alright. So push it up to the face where you want it to join. Okay, make sure you don't cover those ears. Alright, and then just bring it down, just as you did with the fairy bits. It's a bit much. I don't want to do is just trim some away. Roll that back up in a minute and reuse it. Let's use the knife. Okay, so now you want to kind of do this in a curved motion, as if it's sort of going back away from the face. That's the way I do it. You don't have to. Okay, like that. If you can get it to line up with the beard, even better. Bring it a bit down here. Alright, he's got quite a lot of facial hair, this guy. Alright, and then obviously we're going to repeat the pattern on the other side. Okay, obviously not so much to do this side because of the way the head was fixed originally. It just got swallowed up, so a bit more. A lot of the original hair is already on this one. So again, keep it away from that ear. Like so. In fact, I might even trim that again. That's a bit better. Just try and get rid of any stray blobs of putty. Okay. And finally, just want a little bit on the back of the neck there. Probably easier if I do this by hand actually. So I'm just going to bring that round, try and get in those gaps as well while we're at it. Remember, mind that ear. Let's get rid of that. It's messing up the focus. Right. Alright, so it's kind of looking like that. And it's just a case of matching up the hair that's already on the head. And follow those lines that are already there. And just bring them back. Fairly easy, similar to how you did the fur on the legs and the bracelets. Okay. The only thing you've got to try and do now is make sure that's really pushed down into the top of the head. Okay. So just make sure that's all pushed in firmly against the hair that was already there. You don't want to be stepped, you want to look naturally extending. That's pretty much it. I'm leaving this hair fairly straight as he's sort of rushing forwards, windswept, flowing back behind him. Maybe a little bit more there. I think we get away with that. Alright, so that's basic hair done. What we can also do, got different hairstyles. Put like a mop of hair. Alright, you can have a look at that. And also got like a mohawk, which is just a line down the middle, fairly straightforward. In fact, we'll do that one first. So let's pick a guy. Who do we want to do? Just for a guy, he can look a bit. It's awkward now though, because we've done the boots. Got to be careful where we hold them. Right, so for the mohawk guy, you want a thin sausage. So you end up with something like that. And it's just a case of sticking it on. Bring it back. That's the basic. You've got to get it stuck on the head. You just feather it right down at the bottom. Don't worry too much about being neat at this stage. Okay, do the same the other side. Should have cat filled this neck first really, but I'll do that afterwards. Okay, and once it's adhered either side of the sausage, you can just press in either side and it will gradually get thinner and thinner. Okay. Just going backwards and forwards. Okay, that mohawk will get slightly taller. Right. Then bring some lines in. Now you've got two options. You can either, so it's one long piece of hair coming from a tuft in the front of the head, so it gets swept right back, or you can have it short. Okay, so that's just little, well, not vertical, so you still want them swept back. Yeah, but you want these little lines going in. Do it the same the other side. That's quite hard sculpting two sides of the same piece. So not too much force. I know if you're a Jedi, you use the force, but not in this instance. Alright, so obviously that'll get folded over, but you can straighten that up again from the other side. And also you want texture in the top as well. So it's very lightly press in on the top, like so. Okay, and then just try and neaten it all up a little bit. Okay, it's gone a bit lopsided, as you can see. No problem. Just go back from the other side. Like so. And you can play with this as much as you want to, really, until you're happy with how it's looking. I think we're getting near the stage where that's fine. Yeah, once that's painted up, that'll look pretty good. Okay, so it's like a Mohawk Berserker. So that's how you do that. Easy. Right. Mop hair. Mop hair, guys. Let's pick. You want this guy? Oh no, he's already got hair. Let's do one of these guys. Right. Now he's already got hair sculpted on the back because this was one of those hairy faces. So what I'm going to have to do initially probably a little bit too much, that. Need about half that much. So we just want to disguise that back bit first. Okay. Again, try and match the hair that's already sculpted on the model, if you can. Okay. Right. Now, for the strands of hair, you want a really thin sausage green stuff. Cut, I don't know, maybe 8mm. Alright, so you end up with a piece like that. Right. Then, I should have rolled this out a little bit more, really. But okay, and then you can just bring the hair down like that. Okay, individual strands. Alright, and you can do the same again. Alright, this time make sure you roll the ends so they end up pointed. It just looks a bit more natural. Alright. Same again. Come on, stick. A little bit off centre there. Tricky. Okay. Alright, so get the idea. And if we do one more, if I can find it. Where's that gone? Oh, there it is. Just gonna stick that down a little bit. Right, and you can have it sweeping away. Have it coming down across the face. Okay, so oh, try not to knock it off. Right. So you're just building up all this wind-swept, all these single strands of hair, which will merge in the middle as they come down. You can swish them about a bit. I think maybe one more. Yeah, try and keep these strands the same thickness, okay, if you can. So fiddly. That didn't work, let's try again. Right, put those points on each end. Pick up the hair. Right, hairy York this one. Because you don't have to do this, it's only a suggestion. So we're just going for a bit of variety. Bit unkempt this one. Yeah. Just a case of playing around with it until you're happy. Have a look from the top. Does it look okay? Yeah. On the back. Yeah. There you go. One hairy berserker. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers it. I think the only thing left to do is maybe talk about a bearded guy. Oh, so it's like a bald head, but he's just got a bit of a beard. And that's very simple as well. So it's just a case of cutting like a V or a cone. Right, so let's pick a guy. Let's pick a guy with a bald head. Who wants... excellent preparation on my part. I can't find the guy I'm looking for. Where is he? Oh, here. Right. No, that's not him. Oh well, this guy's here. Right. So this guy is bald. But we'll give him the beard. Why not? Okay. So yeah, just stick that. Well, that's too thin. Alright. So again, we're going to try and get it to stick first. Alright. And then once it's on, we can have a little play with it. Right, so now this is just, again, exactly the same principle. Alright, so this is like a cross between doing the mohawk, because it's got an open end, and doing the wristbands, I guess. Alright, so case of pressing in. Right, make sure you don't squash it too much. Keep that separation between the beard and the chest armour. Right. And again, you can make it as wavy as you want to. It'll probably look a bit more natural with a slight curvature in it. Okay. And it's just a case of playing around now until you get it how you want.
Is the dishwasher off?
Alright, there you go. That'll do. One bearded berserker. And that's pretty much all I'm going to show you, I think. Very simple, basic ideas. just facial hair, longer hair, mohawks, fur legs, fur gauntlets, fur, you know, just little things, just to make them a little bit more different. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. And let's go and tidy things up. So there you have it. Hopefully you found that a quick and easy but effective way of getting a little bit of variation in your Gundabad Beserker warbands. Hopefully you found it easy enough to follow. I'll try to keep it simple, but I do appreciate I can drone on a little bit, so I apologise for that. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see in future videos, drop us a line or in a comment below or on the Facebook page. We're always happy to offer advice. In the meantime, I guess, comment, share, subscribe, and as ever, merry miniature modelling.